Hi, everyone. We are back in the studio. We'll see if people come on over. I've been talking about self-love, and certainly after this experience, I'll be giving myself lots of self-love. You know, when you run a show, you want to have a certain level of professionalism. You want to have a certain amount of repeatability and have a very high standard that you set for yourself. But the fact is that when you're a small operation and you want to grow, you have to challenge yourself. You have to get uncomfortable. And so, since we've been having challenges with the video inside with the feed for YouTube, we figured we would try it outside. We would try something different where we didn't use a fancy background, but instead use the background that nature gave to us. And so, I know a lot of great learnings will come out of this experience. I do apologize for the level of professionalism that was or wasn't brought, as the case may be. But I know that out of these challenges, something great always comes. And so it was a worthwhile endeavor, which we won't be repeating again in the future. So with that said, Jessica, you don't have a mic on, so it's going to be hard for people to hear you. You'll get your mic. I'd like to go over what some of the questions are. So I want to thank everybody for bearing with me. This is our naked studio. What you see behind me is the actual green screen that we use, and we have fancy studio lighting, which isn't on, and there's lighting coming in from outside, which is making me look a little bit like Casper the Ghost. But in just a minute, Jessica's going to come over here with the mic, and we're going to take some questions. And I cannot thank you enough for your love and support and for sticking with us through this. Okay, we're getting Jessica mic'd up here. So, all right, she is now mic'd up. Welcome back, Jessica.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
One more time.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Very, very good. And my mic is blasting too much. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. All right, let's jump into the questions. My chat window is blank here, but hopefully you can see some of the questions that came through before.
So the last live call, Anthony asked, when you've healed your heart and making strides to maintain that through various means of prayer, meditation, journaling, etc., why is it that people around you seem to pull back into negativity?
Two great points. Is it Andrew, was it, Jessica?
Anthony.
Anthony. So first off, as you start to heal yourself, you start to become aware more of the energy all around you. And so you start to become a lot more sensitive to people's energy and notice the negativity a lot more. That's part of it. But what you are seeing is real, Anthony. And that is, you are destabilizing for what people feel is their better good. How do I put that? In other words, you're destabilizing to the status quo. If people are happy in their misery and all of a sudden you're happy and not miserable, well, then that threatens their happiness in their misery. And so they're not going to want to stand for that. And so it's not that they're bad people. It's not that they're doing anything wrong. It's that you are upsetting the apple cart. What does this mean? Well, it means finding new homies to hang with is possible. It means taking less time with people who pull you down is another possibility. If it's family, it may be hanging with family in metered doses. But as your vibration starts to go up, you necessarily will have some pruning to do in your life. It sounds a little bit cold, but it's anything but, because as your vibration goes up, you're going to be able to help people more around you. But if you let your vibration get pulled down by the people that you're hanging out with, you don't help anyone. So you're going to notice it more. People may have some backlash. You can try to hang in there and be the change that you want to see in the world, to be an example just by feeling better, by looking better, by raising your vibration up. But then there's also a time, Anthony, where it's time to kind of get back and excuse yourself from the situation. So brilliant, brilliant question. And that's a Sir Meowser's in the background.
Earlier how do you get rid of old resentment and how to not take personally when there is conflict, so avoiding further resentment?
So, Gabcam, I'm guessing you mean healing resentment toward others. And resentment towards others is like, how does it go? It's like wishing ill will to somebody else and drinking the poison yourself. Harboring resentment helps no one, least of all yourself. So it's best to cut the cords with it any way you can. Actually, going to forgiveness is like the ultimate high, the ultimate vibration that you can get to is forgiving anyone for anything. That doesn't mean you don't have to, that doesn't mean you forget. And it doesn't mean that you could suddenly become friends with that person. But to forgive them means to step away from the poison that's going into your own heart. Forgiveness is first and foremost for yourself. So if you can do that, it changes everything. Something I've talked about a lot on the show is going to Ho'oponopono. It is my all-time favorite prayer for healing relationships, for overcoming resentment, for overcoming ill will, and getting to a place of forgiveness. It's 4 lines. You can say them in any order that you choose. I love you. Please forgive me. I am sorry. Thank you. I love you. Please forgive me. I am sorry. Thank you. Any order you want, and it just helps. And you want to repeat that over and over again to yourself and for yourself. You're not saying it for anyone else, but it helps to heal your heart. Now, Jessica Gabcam had a second part of that question. I'm not sure if you're able to see what that is.
How to not take personally when there's conflict to avoid further resentment.
So, Gabcam, that's a brilliant question. The best way that I look at it is that even the most off-the-rocker person is doing the best that they can with the resources that they have. Now, that could be absolutely terrible. It could be criminal even, but they're doing the best they can with the resources that they have. So coming to anyone, coming to everyone with kindness and compassion changes everything. If you can't find a way to find any kindness and compassion to this person, try to see their inner child. Try to see their wounded 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old. If you can do that, it truly changes everything. We are one at the end of the day. And so picking on one arm versus the other is like trying to saw off an arm off of ourselves to make ourselves feel better. We are all interconnected and couldn't be anything other than that. That doesn't mean you need to dance with somebody else. It doesn't mean you need to get involved with drama. You can extricate yourself from the situation as quickly, as kind, gentle, easy, good as you possibly can. But realize they're just another struggling human being going around this spinning globe trying to figure out what in the world is going on. And so if you can realize the internal struggle, the internal challenge, the internal strife, anger, fear that this other person is feeling, it truly changes everything. Last thing again, doesn't mean that you don't get to step back and get away, because there's certainly a time and a place for that. And both Jessica and myself, well, I'll speak for myself, I call myself a skittish deer. When the energy doesn't feel right, I head for the hills because I want to surround myself with positive energy. If I have to be with somebody, if I have to be through the experience, I'll bring as much love and kindness and compassion as I can. And then as soon as I can, exit stage right. Beautiful, beautiful questions, Gabcam. Thank you so much. Jessica, my chat window keeps on appearing and disappearing. So if you have questions for me, I can't see anything going on the chat.
Yes. Our next question is from Div Rahim, who asks, I keep going into fight or flight mode and choosing flight. Advice? Pretty sure this is holding me back.
Div Rahim, that is an awesome, awesome, awesome question. I'm less concerned about you going into flight, which is actually probably better than fight, than I am about working to detune, to take this giant dial and tune down your nervous system. Dibrahim, we need to get to meditation. We need to do a lot of things that I was talking about earlier, if you caught that, which is we need to go to a place of gratitude. We need to go to a place of kindness and compassion. We need to go to a place of silence and start to, would it be deregulate, to tune down the nervous system on everything. When you're in that place of fight or flight, you can't think clearly. You can't make smart decisions. We all get there now and again. In fact, the studies show we lose, 30%, or maybe it's 30 IQ points. Basically, when we get into a fight or flight response, none of us is thinking clearly. So first off, if you get into a fight or flight response with somebody you love and care about, realize you probably said stupid things and ask for forgiveness later on. Secondly, try to catch yourself in the moment and just extricate yourself from the situation. Go to meditation, go to tapping, such an incredibly powerful tool. We've had on Dr. Dawson Church numerous times. We've had on Nick Ortner. You can check those videos out on our Inspire Nation channel and learn how to do tapping. That helps shift our nervous system as well. In fact, we have Dr. Dawson Church on yesterday, and we're talking about morning routines, because we have our magical morning routine for busy spiritual seekers program. In fact, go to inspirenationuniversity.com, and if you hear this in time, click in Magic 40 and you'll get 40% off. Shameless plug. With that said, we were talking about morning routines, and Dr. Dawson Church was talking about waking up, putting your hand over your heart, going to a place of gratitude for a minute, and then looking for what negative emotions come up and starting to tap them away. And that's something we talk about in our program as well, so that you can reset the nervous system before you even get going in the day. Dibrahim, the last thing that I would say, and I have a habit, whenever I say it's the last thing, then something else pops in my head. But with that said, 3 times a day, I'd like you to take just 3 minutes and go to the breath. Nice and gentle nasal breathing. The more you breathe through the nose, in and out through the nose throughout the day, the calmer you will be. But just take 3 minutes, 3 times during the day, in and out. In and out. And in and out. Before you hit that place of fight or flight, and you'll be able to make different choices regarding your situation and regarding whatever it is you need to say. Hope that helps. Start dialing that back. It's a brilliant question. Thanks, Dibrahim. Jessica, do we have another question?
Yes, we've got several.
Excellent.
Our next question is from Merwin, who asks, I've been struggling to stick to meditation. Is there methods to make it habitual?
So, Merwin, I was working with a coaching client on this recently. I've been working with a few on meditation, and I want to challenge both of us to get rid of the word meditation and instead call it chair time. I just want you, as I'm slumping down in my chair, I just want you to take a few minutes to be in your chair. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to do anything. You need to think. You don't need to not think. You don't need to focus on your breath. You don't need to not focus on your breath. You don't need to count. You don't need to... Just be in the chair for a few minutes. Start with maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes in the chair. If a thought comes up, you can go, wow, that's interesting. I don't really want to think about that one right now, but I'll just stay in the chair. If you end up daydreaming about something, great. When you remember, just come back to the chair. The whole goal in this experience is just to be with you, which is actually quite a scary proposition in the beginning. That's why I start with very small amounts, but just call it chair time. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. The funny thing is, the more time you spend in the chair, the more your awareness grows, the more your heart expands, and the more your mind gives up, because you're just not paying any attention to it. You're not listening to it. You're not feeding it. And so the last thought, and again, I tend to go on when I say last thought, is meditation on many levels, many meditation instructors might dispute this a little bit, is about cultivating awareness. When you simply sit in the chair and become aware of your thoughts by default, because you notice them, you start to strengthen that muscle of awareness, making it easier to control what channel you're on. You don't have to stay on the anger channel if you don't want to. You don't have to stay on the resentment channel if you don't want to. You don't have to stay on any channel, because once you've got awareness, you've got everything. So to say, Dibrahim, if you said, I'm terrible at meditating, my mind is all over the place, I would say, congratulations, Dibrahim, you're meditating. What do you mean by that? You're noticing your thoughts. You're strengthening that muscle. You're getting much, much better at this. So the fact that your mind wanders and you notice your mind wanders means you're doing a perfect meditation. Woohoo! It means you are right on track with it. So I want to challenge you. Start tomorrow morning. Start tonight after this is done. Kick back, relax, shut everything down. Just be with yourself for just a few minutes, and then maybe increase it 30 seconds or a minute every other day till you get into that 10, 15. To me, most blissful experiences happen once we kick it to the 20-minute mark or more. But start in there, kind, gentle, easy, good, tiny little baby steps your way into not meditation, into chair time. Brilliant question, Dibrahim.
Our next question is from Not Happy, Not Lucky, and I don't go.
I'm going to challenge you on your name right there. Words are power, not happy, not lucky, and
I don't go.
I don't go. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Words create things. Words have an energy. Words have a frequency. Words have a vibration to it.
It's a Seinfeld reference.
Okay. All right. I'll back away from the name now. I'm just thinking of the car that I think it was it Chevy or Ford? I think it was a Ford. No, it might have been a Chevy. Somebody's going to tell me, and I'm wrong, whichever it is, and that's okay. But they had a car that they brought to Mexico many years ago that was called, it's the Chevy Nova. And nobody would buy the Chevy. Why? Because it meant no go. Okay, for what that's worth, let's go into the question.
Okay. How do you deal with your fuse becoming extremely short when you have small kids, a 1-year-old and 10? I love them more than anything, but boy, am I exhausted. Haven't been alone with my girlfriend for about a year.
So not happy, not lucky, and you don't go. It really comes back to what I think it was Anthony was talking. Want to care for them. They mean more to you than anything in the world. But when your body and mind are in a fight or flight response, anything can set you off. I remember walking through the school halls and wanting to fight every single door that got in my way. How dare it stand in my way? And I think Jessica was there when we first got together. Let's say I opened a cabinet in the kitchen, and heaven forbid, I forgot to close the cabinet and I bopped my head on it. I'm wanting to whap that cabinet into another universe. Going, come on, let's go. It's just a matter of when you're in fight or flight, it doesn't matter who or what is in front of you. It's a very difficult situation. So what you want to do is go to meditation, go to silence, get up earlier than your kids, and spend some time rewiring the mind. Go to journaling and learn about yourself. Get to automatic writing. I cannot recommend it enough. And get some inner wisdom and guidance. Go to prayer, which can help you realize that you're not alone. Find people to hang with, people to not commiserate with, but people to help bring your energy levels up. Try to take breaks, pauses if you can. But you've got to get that nervous system turned down. That will make all the difference in the world. You have to put play back in there, fun back in there, whatever that looks like for you. This is not easy, particularly if you've got a real young one, a 1-year-old. It's not easy at all, but it's essential. It's essential for them, and it's essential for you. On top of that, I would certainly go to tapping as much as I possibly can. And there are many other modalities. One of my other favorites is Emotion Code by Dr. Bradley Nelson. I consider it absolutely brilliant, and it can help you get rid of patterns in the nervous system, triggers that are bringing you back to that fight or flight response time after time after time. You can do this. It's going to take a commitment. It's going to take you getting up earlier than your kids and putting in the homework, which also brings up the thought, we got to get you to bed earlier. You're exhausted. When you're exhausted, it is so much easier to trip into a fight or flight response. After the kids are to bed, I challenge you, set an alarm to get yourself to bed within an hour. Take care of only those essential things that have to be done. Get off of the computer and do not go to relax in front of YouTube, Facebook, a movie, or anything on a digital medium, because you're actually spooling up your brain rather than tuning it down. We need less stimulus than more. If you need to have something on, have the most calming, relaxing kind of yoga music. We have both in our automatic writing program and in our magical morning routine program. We have theta brain entrainment music, which is just a brilliant way to go. You need something to calm or quiet or soothe the mind, and get yourself to bed, get yourself to bed, get yourself to bed.
You just wrote also it's 1:15 and I'm asking for advice instead of sleeping.
Oh my Lord, I felt that. That's why I paused. I'm like, wait a second. So yes. Let's get you to sleep now.
Okay, thanks. Our next question is from Lavi, who asks two questions. Do soulmates exist, and can we heal ourselves?
Lavi, do soulmates exist, and can we heal ourselves? Yes and yes. Can we heal ourselves? Absolutely. Oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Doesn't mean you won't still have grooves in the record, but you can absolutely positively heal yourself to where you almost don't recognize yourself. And you certainly don't recognize the negative berating self-talk and other patterns that you have inside of you. You can do that more than you could ever imagine. Do soulmates exist? I believe so, but nobody will be perfect for you. Nobody will appear perfect to you, because if there is a soulmate, and I would argue that we have had infinite lifetimes, and so we've had many partners that we go around and do a dance after a dance after a dance with. But with that said, our partners and our soulmates are our greatest teachers, which means the one that rubs us the wrong way the most may actually, in a crazy way, be the best for us. Not somebody that makes us unhappy. That's a relationship that is probably not what you want to be in, but one that is a mirror for you. So I would say that Jessica and I are soulmates, that it is an absolute miracle that we found each other. But if we relied on today's common standards by how you judge a relationship, you shouldn't fight, you shouldn't have disagreements, and on it goes, though we can certainly improve, you'd say, you guys aren't soulmates. But if you look at how you challenge each other and how you've grown through the situation, it's pretty incredible. And so I'm thinking of a dear, dear friend who kept bouncing from great woman to great woman to great woman, because he kept saying that if this person was my soulmate, then we wouldn't argue, we wouldn't have disagreements. This relationship isn't right. And I would say, oftentimes, nothing could be further from the truth. Your soulmate sees into your soul. Your soulmate sees past your bullshit. Your soulmate sees all of your wounds and foibles and challenges. They love you, but they're going to demand more of you. With that said, bringing it home, if I hadn't worked on today's topic, if I hadn't worked on healing myself, There's not a chance in the world I would have found Jessica. And truth be told, and she would say this every chance that she gets, it's an absolute miracle we're together, because I was such a fixer-upper still. I'm still such a fixer-upper. But I was such a fixer-upper when we met. Long hair Boulder cyclist at all, who said, I've healed all my childhood wounds. Jessica, did you hear me over there? I've healed all my childhood wounds.
Yeah, right. That was my response.
That's a soulmate. Woohoo! Hope that helps. We've got time for just a couple more questions.
We did have a question from M. Lowe earlier, who wanted to know about your bicycle adventures. I don't have the exact wording because somehow that question disappeared. But I know he was curious to know if you were sponsored and perhaps maybe whether you camped or not.
So we're not talking about my racing adventure. We're talking about my
well, he just said bicycle adventures in general.
Okay, Emlo, I'll give you the really short snapshot version of Michael's life and cycling. Went to college in Colorado Springs so I could be by the Olympic Training Center. Trained there more often informally than not. Trained there both in cycling and in speed skating. Then I went over to race in Europe. I was invited by the Belgian Cycling Federation to race with the best amateurs at first there, and was sponsored. My main sponsor in Belgium was Duvel Beer, and I'm trying to remember who Duvel's parent company is. I was sponsored by Dudler, which is a ginger ale, and Duvel Beer. And then I came back and was sponsored by all sorts of companies in the US, some who still exist like SRAM, some who don't exist anymore. And then I got on a French team, and I always get it backwards, so forgive me. I can't recall which was the sponsor. We're talking a long time ago. I was either sponsored by the bank Credit Mutuel or Credit Lyonnaise. Not the main Tour de France sponsor. It was the other one. As I was making my way up through the ranks, hopeful to try to make it to the Tour de France, which was cut short by an accident that happened over there after a safety official waved me through a blind turn into an elderly woman's car who she'd managed to get it on the race course driving down an alley. And that kind of ended my career at the time. Came back on the track in the US, modestly successful career, particularly as a masters racer. I was able to get top 10 in the US in a couple events or a couple different disciplines and be state champion, beat the Olympic team, woohoo, in one event a long time ago. Then I sold all my racing gear and did a 5,000-mile solo, 40-day unsupported bike ride across the country to help people with learning disabilities and attention deficit disorder. Privately sponsored by that. People made donations. The next year I was sponsored by Rollerblade because I'd been a former speed skater, and